Okay, dear students, today we will discuss about data types. Okay, data type is a collection of objects or elements or values or data and a set of operations performed over the int, char, float, long, double. Okay, out of this again, int, char, float are said to be the preliminary data types. Okay, are primary data types. Okay. Then this long int is derived from this int, right? This double is derived from this. Then you have structures. Generally in Pascal, we call the same as records. Okay. With the help of structures, you can maintain the records of students, employees, okay, department, book, any account details, bank account record, all this you can maintain the records with the help of you know structures and unions. You have studied the difference between structures and unions, where for each member of the structure, memory will be allocated separately, whereas in union the memory will be allocated for the whole, at a single place, and the same is being used by all the members. So all the members cannot use at the same time. So one after the other, they can rather use, right? Enumerated. Enumerated data type, generally when you want to represent a set of values. Like for example, when you are representing week consists of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So this all set of values you want to put together and name it as one data type, your own, like week you can, otherwise month you can, like this, When you have set of attributes to be, grouped and then named after a data type which is of your kind rather, right? Then you can be probably using enum data type rather, enumerated data type. Then you have functions. Functions basically are used to implement the reusability concept. You can have the functions of your own kind, like for example, if you are performing addition, you can have add function. If you are performing, let us say, withdrawal of amount from the bank, you can have the withdrawal function. Similarly, you can have any operation. If you are performing any operation which can be carried out separately and wanted to be invoked for a repeated number of times on different instances, then you can probably go with functions, right? And then arrays and the pointers. Arrays basically when you have a set of values to be grouped under the single name, and you want to access it with a single name, then you can probably go with arrays. Arrays is a collection of a set of homogeneous elements, right? Named after a single variable rather, right? So with the help of indexing mechanism, we can access the values of all the array elements, right? And then pointers. Pointers basically are used to access the memory of a variable indirectly. It means, let us say you have declared a variable, okay, and I have declared another variable. This is said to be the variable, integer variable, and this is said to be the integer pointer, right? This is said to be integer pointer. So generally when you declare a variable like this, int a, memory will be allocated inside the system. But as we know, every memory is being represented with the help of some memory address. Okay, and this address is unique basically, right? Every byte is represented with some kind of unique address. Let us say its address is 200. So generally you want to access this memory. How do you access in the program? With the help of name. That is called direct way of accessing. But then if I want to access the same with the help of pointer, I can rather do it. So what I do it, first I will assign the address of A. This is said to be ampersand, right? Address operator. So when I write this statement immediately after the declaration, what happens? The address of A will be assigned to P. It means P also can point to this memory rather, right? So you can access this memory now with the help of either A or P. So A, if you are accessing, I said direct accessing. This is said to be direct accessing. And if I'm accessing using P, I say indirect accessing, right? Direct accessing. So indirectly you can access the memory. Generally, the advantage of pointers you probably find, widely when you are, working with remote systems, rather, right? When you are trying to access the data from some other system, how do you access? Every system will have some IP address, right? So once you know it, then probably you will be able to access the resources of the particular machine with the help of this IP address. So anyway, there is wider advantages of this, pointers, of course. Um, Linked list is the data structure during the invention of which this pointer is invented, rather, right? Characteristics of data types. As we said, data types, consists of some memory, and the value which it can probably consist of is also going to be defined by the language designer. I mean, the range of values and the set of operation which can be performed on that respective data type also being defined by the language designer. I have listed out few of that kind, like integer, for example, in C language. If you define a variable of integer kind, it occupies 2 bytes of memory, and the value ranges between, the -2 power 15 to +2 power 15 minus 1, and the kind of operations you can perform are arithmetic, logical, and relational, also in conjunction with relational, all this logical relation we can work in conjunction with these statements, of course. Similarly, if character variable, if I declare it takes 1 byte of memory and the value ranges between 0 to 127. Okay, and you have similarly for float variable. If you are declaring a float variable, then float data type takes 4 bytes of memory, right? And then it occupies 4 bytes of memory, and then the operations you can perform are arithmetic, you can perform logical and relational, right? Similar to like how the uh, integer you perform. So this operation in conjunction with these statements you can perform a long int. If you have a long int which is an extension of integer, it also will take 4 bytes of memory, and the value will be ranged like this, and the kind of operations are similar to this. And you can have double kind, which is an extension of float, right? And this is an extension of integer, right? So the kind it occupies 8 bytes of memory, you say, and the value ranges between -2 power 63 to +2 power 63 minus 1 kind of operations are similar kind. So it means here data types, when the language designers are defining, they need to ensure that the characteristics are the same. How the structure can be declared and can be used. Then probably you can make use of the same in your program, right? So these are we are going to discuss as part of this particular chapter, and we have invariant records or unions, we call it as, right? Unions are invariant records. In Pascal, we say invariant records, the same union. Fine. Then we have enumerated data type, which you can probably use to define a set of values grouped under a single variable, rather, right? Like for example, we find then we'll probably discuss about arrays and arrays, how arrays helps you to declare a set of values to be represented with a single variable. For example, if I have to define a student structure, how do I define? Struct as a student. Student consists of, let us us say student number, and you can have student name. This is the definition rather, right? This is the definition. But now you let us say want to implement it for one student. Okay, how do you implement it for one student? You need to create a variable of this kind, right? You need to create a variable of this kind. How do you create a variable in C language? You take, you say struct followed by the structure name, student, and then you say S. So now for S, memory is going to be allocated. As we said that data type characteristic is storage. I mean, you declare a variable, memory will be allocated. For S, memory will be allocated. So how much memory is going to be allocated for S? It consists of S number. So S number is an integer, so 2 bytes of memory will be allocated. And so 2 bytes marks, which is an array of 5 elements. And is also of integer kind. So 5 to the 10 elements rather, right? It will also memory will be allocated. So 2 bytes of memory will be allocated. Okay, now you have name. Its name is a string, is because it's a character array. Character consists of 1 byte. Character requires 1 byte, but then you have 20 of such kind of elements, then it's going to be 20 bytes rather, right? So for S name, I'm representing here for the remaining S name. Okay, it is an array, so of 20 elements, blah blah blah. So 20 bytes of memory, right? You have the average is a float kind. Float requires 4 bytes. So average another variable, it requires 4 bytes of memory, right? So total together, how much memory allocated for this size? You can say 2 plus 10 is going to be 12 plus 2, 14 plus 20, 34 plus 4, 38, right? 38 bytes of memory is going to be allocated, right? And how these numbers? Through the structure variable which you have created, but with the help of membership operator. Right? Is the membership operator. So if you have to access S number, how do I access S dot S number? Fine. If I want to read some value into it, how do I access S dot S number? If I want to access the element of this particular array, fine. The array indices are going to be represented through starting from 0 onwards, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. 5 elements means 0 to 4, of course, right? So if I have to access, let us say, this particular element, how do I access this particular element? I say that S dot, when I say S dot, I'll come here. Then I have this whole being represented through M, so I say M. If I have to access this particular element, then I say M of 1, okay? If I have to access this last element, how do I access? S dot M of 4, right? Similarly, you want to access average, how do you access? S dot average, right? So like this, fine. If I'm, declaring a union of the same, of course, I declare it like this, union, let us say student, then you say student number, then same total, let us say, for example, I have total, and I want to have that marks of 5 subjects. Then the difference between the structure and union is now the memory allocated. How do you declare a variable of this kind? You want to implement this union. What do? You will have to create a variable of this kind. How do you create union? You say student, say US, okay, union student. Okay, and memory will be allocated only for the member who occupies the larger amount of memory, and the same being used by all the members. It means here if you see who is occupying more amount of memory, you can see this S name. So it means 20 bytes of memory will be allocated now for this union student, right? So how much memory? 20 bytes. So the same being used by, it means if I use this memory for S number, I can't use it for sorry, marks, total and average, right? Means I can, input the values of the union members only one at a time. If I use S number, I can't use, I can't, then I should finish off its work, then I can go for another variable, right? So it means I am not allowed to access the memory for all the members at the same time. It means I am not allowed to perform the simultaneous operations rather, right? So this is the disadvantage of union. Similar kind is available in, Pascal, which is said to be invariant records, right? Part of C language, and you have discussed about the data types. You have used them to write the program. Of course, you need to have the data types because you are going to declare the variables. Well, you are going to declare the variables, they need to be of some kind. And before declaring of them to be of some kind, you need to know what kind of values that you probably assign to that variable, and then what kind of operations you want to perform over it. All that you must have to be clear before doing this rather, right? So now, as part of this particular subject, what is that we are going to do is we are going to not only see the data types significance, its way of declaring, its way of defining, its way of implementing, but then as well how they are being differed from one particular language to another language, how these all data types are available as part of different languages, and what is the difference between the data types that are being offered from one language to another language. All this we are going to discuss as part of this particular chapter. I hope it is clear what is that I'm going to discuss as part of this particular chapter, right?